Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to ROCKTOBER, the series where throughout the month of October we are listening to different rock albums. And today, of course, we are going to continue, we're going to close out the series actually, is what I should say, with the final album for the rock month. That, of course, being Talk Talk's 1991 record, Laughing Stock. Now, I specifically chose this record simply because I'm a big post-rock fan. I have been for many years now. And as far as post-rock goes, I somehow have not checked out one of the classic post-rock albums, that of course being this album here. However, I have heard the album Spiderland by Slint, one of my favorite records ever, a record I consider to be pretty much perfect, which is also post-rock, came out the same year. I've heard Laughing Stock by Talk Talk here is kind of a similar vibe, but kind of goes into its own direction. With that being said, I am excited to check it out. I thought we'd kick it off. Opening track here, it's called Merman. I don't know. It's 6 tracks though, this album. So let's kick it off. I'm expecting some lengthy, highly textured pieces here that are very calculated in their build-up. So let's begin. I know this is a very different direction for Talk Talk, given that they started as a synth pop group, which actually covered their album The Color of Spring way back in April, if you're interested.
Place my chair at the back room door. Blessed love, the love I've seen. Step by idle step,
Much more desolate and a stripped back approach to their musicianship here, compared to Color of Spring, of course. That's really my only reference point. Which, Color of Spring really my only reference point, given the fact that it's the only album of theirs I've heard. But I do like the very different, stark contrast we're getting here. Oh. Weird screech. Very careful and textured this piece has been so far. It's like jazz little sprinkling in too. I like the strings too. They're very kind of withdrawn like the rest of the mix, but they're adding such a tension. I love the sparseness of this whole track, to be honest. Kind of keeps you like hanging on. Man, that gentle like hum in the background too. This did not feel like 5 minutes. I love the just delicate eeriness of that opening track. Boy, did that set the stage. Let's go into Ascension Day. that gentle whirring that was in the background there just completely transitions into this one here. Even that percussion kind of mimicking it. Oh, let's go on Ascension Day. I love the sort of rattliness of those drums, the percussion, kind of having a nice echo on it. That clanging. Certainly a lot more, loud and abrasive in comparison to that opening there. Already feeling so much more claustrophobic in the mix. Love that step back. Already feels very kind of cinematic too in its approach, kind of hinting at what's to come with post-rock, really. A focus on the atmosphere more than anything, the textures. Is that an organ there? That whirring sound? Ooh. Even a harmonica of some sort? Oh my goodness. Very different arrangement. Oh. Not nearly as, I would say, eerie or as, tense as a Spiderland by Slint, but instead certainly still has a similar vibe of building on these really complex, unique rock instrumentation that just kind of slowly builds until it becomes something even greater than itself. Right here, we're getting very whole, very unique and unified. Oh. There's some effects buried in there. This is very in your face. Oh, and a hard cutoff, a very hard cutoff. Into this, just beautifully gentle piano. Ascension Day is certainly ascended as we get to that second half. It all just comes together. It's very rock focused, even more so than your typical post-rock release, perhaps, but still carries on the extended explosive sound that is so pivotal to the genre. Let's go into After the Flood. Like I said, kick things off already. It was very gentle. Such a different kind of abrupt cutoff. This track, 9 minutes 38 seconds. Clearly a slow build, like one might expect from the post-rock scene. I do love the very shimmery very shaky percussion that we're getting. Ooh. I love this one kind of creeps up on you. I didn't even realize how much the instrumental just slowly kind of took hold of me there. But I want to say, vocally, the way he's singing here, and instrumentally, this is reminding me of kind of Radiohead, to be honest, which just came, long before the similarities of Radiohead here. Their stuff in the kind of like 2000s. So I don't know. Kind of think that's interesting. I wonder if there is an influence there. It's like this very kind of drony, emotive singing, similar to Tom York. Also reminds me of REM in a way too. Kind of that similar era, that alt rock tone. Feels like slightly influenced here. But again, with that slowly building post-rock flair. What is that? Like feedback of the guitars, perhaps? Great use of texture. Ooh. I love that release there. Beautiful, shimmering guitars there. Kind of feeling oceanic. I like those. I didn't even realize that too, like the shimmery kind of chimes too in the background. There's so much layering and textures that it's so hard to pick up on everything, but everything just sneaks in ever so slightly. I love it. A great use of building sort of instrumentals. Man, this was beautiful. A really hypnotic, meditative track, really. I like that this flavor of post-rock feels a lot more sensual than a lot of the eerie kind of political stuff that, or more desolate, lonely stuff, I feel like, that is usually more prevalent in post-rock. Thinking Godspeed You, Black Emperor. I'm thinking Slint. This feels a little bit more unique. But let's get into the next track here, Tapad. Another lengthy one at 7 minutes, 39 seconds. Let's keep the good times going.
Still to rise beyond the tide.
Not sure what this one's about. It's hard to tell what any of these lyrically are about, but maybe like a overcoming of depression. Or like a sinking into depression. like these horns coming in. Henry Lowther, I believe here. What the hell? Oh my god. Really pulls you in every direction with these additions. I love how tranquil this sounds, but also very tortured. Oh. Oh. Where are we going here? This drum was nowhere to be seen for these first 5 minutes or so. His vocals too, so like barely audible. I checked my phone for half a second and I'm shot awake by these horns. Learned my lesson. Is this like a consuming depression, perhaps? I love the consistent use of the organ just as a backdrop that shimmers throughout the LP. Wow. Another great piece. Carrying on, let's go into New Grass. Not too much to say about Tapad other than, again, classic use of space and texture. Certainly setting up a lot of the staples of the genre of post-rock. I like the kind of jazzy elements that this record has too. Kind of leans into it a bit more. Nothing to say about this one too much right now. I mean, I like its vibe, I like its aura. I will say, this one is the most streamed by a decent margin. It has 1 million more than the second most popular track, which I think is interesting. Wonder what gave such a boost. I'm liking it. I'm wondering if it's going to grow more so than what it is now, because as of right now, we're at 2.5 minutes. It doesn't feel like it has challenged anything too much yet. But it is nearly 10 minutes in length. Oh. I like this gentle ticking on the right side. I do love the subtleties of this record quite a bit. Like this piano, I didn't even realize. Oh. How light and beautiful each kind of microscopic piece has been. I love just like the continuous kind of percussion. It's so hypnotic, which works great with these lengthy tracks. Seems like there's some sort of kind of religious theme tied into these lyrics. It's very abstract, it would seem. Not super blunt. Man, such a pivot from like the synth pop stuff they kicked off their career with. Even in comparison to Color Spring, this is just so minimal. There's not even too much to really add here. Really gorgeous, spacey, kind of abstract instrumentals. Like even this one, it doesn't explode so much in the way that a lot of post-rock does, but it does kind of explore its textures and take its time. I will say one thing as we come to a close on this track here. One thing I find, this came out in 91, same year as Slint, Spiderland. And I have to say, like, both bands really, but we're talking talk right now. This is an incredibly bold direction, I feel like, to take as a rock band, because a lot of rock music, obviously, is very in your face. It is very rhythm-based and kind of groove-based in a way, maybe. Whereas this, taking its time, stretching things out, the shortest track being 5 minutes. These are pretty lengthy compositions, and I feel like for a rock band to do this back in the early 90s or the 80s, it's so bold because it is such a strong artistic choice that could really just result in feeling like a meandering, kind of messy, kind of pointless direction if the listener doesn't embrace the sort of subtle growth of the tracks. But I mean, it paid off because this is considered one of the greatest post-rock albums of all time and a must-listen to forefather LP in a sense. So good for Talk, but man, I can't imagine just how bold of a decision this was as a band to fully embrace this style. Let's go into the final track here, though. Renee? Let's close it out. Oh. Like I said, great use of space. Really holds you on. Like how deep that guitar is, very ominous. The very soft, kind of gentle vocals too of I believe it's Mark Hollis. Even on Color Spring, I found him very sort of withdrawn in his vocal approach. I like it quite a bit, and I think it works great here with the post-rock scene. Obviously, Whispering, Spiderland, a very similar idea there. But even here is more. It's more sung than it is just kind of spoken word, and it sounds great, as gentle as it is. So very delicate in its performance. Great use of pacing too. I feel like these tracks fly by even with the length that they run at. I love that buried piano. Here was singing that was gonna just be pure silence with how it kind of cut off. Fuck. My apologies, but I love the space on this track. Really kept me holding on there towards the end. And that closes it out for the LP Laughing Stock by Talk Talk. Incredible. Absolutely incredible LP that is built pretty much entirely on subtlety, on space, on very delicate pacing, on very delicate vocals as well. And I think it's just so powerful. It's so raw in its approach, and it certainly stands out as a rock record. Because, I mean, I can't really think of too many records, even in the post-rock realm, that feel like this, with how just emotive yet subtle and withdrawn they feel at the same time. Those little pockets of silence in that final track too really hit you hard, because it just feels like you're kind of just on the edge of your seat for every little minuscule passage that kind of phases in and out. It's beautiful, absolutely breathtaking, very ahead of its time, very much a must listen to in the post-rock genre. I feel like this and Spiderland, coming out the same year, really built two distinct paths of the genre that carried on so much influence. And I, for one, thoroughly enjoy this kind of music. It's very meditative. It's very beautiful. It's very majestic. Also, on top of that, I want to quickly say that Talk Talk as a band, like seeing this evolution from synth pop to, the more art pop extended pieces on here perhaps, to what's just very distant and calculated pieces on Laughing Stock. It's crazy. I have yet to hear their LP Spirit of Eden, which I know teases a lot of what's to come on here, but it's fantastic so far from what I've heard from them, and just seeing the growth. It is super impressive for a band that's, I believe, only had about 5 albums. I will say that the track Time It's Time, which is my favorite off of this LP here, listen to this back in April. It's on the channel if you want to check it out. Time It's Time is my favorite, and that to me feels like it has some of the DNA of a slow-growing post-rock, but still blends in, obviously, those art pop sensibilities of that record. So it's kind of interesting seeing that even, the previous decade, they were kind of building on certain ideas that would really come to full fruition on Laughing Stock here. Specifically, the very slow, kind of subtle growing instrumentals that are pivotal to post-rock being on that record, Time It's Time. But that does it for today's video. If you like the video, please hit like and subscribe to follow along and listening to more albums alongside myself. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers, which is a massive milestone, something that I actually want to do a little video for, a little odd video, and maybe another video on top of that as another gesture, because I do greatly appreciate 1,000 subscribers. That sounds insane to me. I actually still can't wrap my head around it, because it is just kind of crazy to think that even 100 people would want to watch the videos that I do, that people would want to even just watch a person sit and listen to music and talk about it. It feels very surreal in a way, and I appreciate it. So thank you so much for following along with the channel. Thank you so much for subscribing, because again, 1,000, I know to a lot of people might not seem like much, especially to some channels that are obviously much bigger than I am, but 1,000 already feels like I've made it somewhere, you know? It's just kind of crazy to wrap my head around. But carrying on with this monthly music series we've been doing, we are entering November's series. Actually, we're a little late now, but going into November, we are going to cover, I've decided, given the recent results, the recent news, if you've been following American politics, again, not American myself, but it does affect me still, and my country, I do want to say that we are going to go into November Punk, where we will be covering punk records, and we're also going to cover post-punk, and we're also going to try to cover perhaps new wave, since it does tend to have some punk leanings. But really, just punk records specifically is the goal for the month of November. So we're going to try to cover 10 records, as always, hopefully get them all up before the end of the month. And of course, the first record that we're going to do to kick off November Punk is going to be The Clash's London Calling, a record that I somehow have avoided this long, despite being a big fan of quite a few other Clash albums. But, as always, my name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching, and I'm signing off.